Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Deep Dive Discography Podcast. I mean, what can we say? There's been so much talk about deathcore and everything else. What else is a logical next step besides talking about super fucking cheesy Italian power metal? Isn't that right, Marcus?
We needed a palate cleanser.
Yeah,
We needed a palate
Marcus.
cleanser, and we chose a palate cleanser of something I'm not really able to palate very well.
Wasn't Black Sabbath our palate cleanser?
Oh yeah, we did do that, didn't we? Yeah, we did.
Are you saying Black Sabbath wasn't a good palate cleanser?
Apparently not.
Black Sabbath went off the fucking rails.
My
Hey,
favorite
man,
episodes.
Rhapsody. Um, I mean, I know I told you to be like, "Hey, let's listen to Rhapsody." How did you feel about Rhapsody?
Yeah, so when I listened to let me pull up the album title here. When I so I started from the top, right? Sorry, we should probably clarify to the audience that we're only talking about bands that fall under the Rhapsody name, not
Yeah, we're
Rhapsody of
following.
Fire.
Yeah, Luca Turilli's Rhapsody, Turilli and
Yeah.
Fabiano's what all the different fucking Rhapsodies. There's a lot of
We're
Rhapsodies. We're talking
Yes,
about Rhapsody.
the straight up OG version of this band.
Yeah,
So when I put up Legendary Tales and I started listening to it, I literally said, fuck this band. I really was like, oh my God, this is like my version of making you listen to, what was one of the bands that we covered that you were like, fuck this, Lorna Shore, for example?
no, I was into Lorna Shore by the end. I was into Lorna Shore around the same mark that you were into Lorna Shore.
Yeah, I guess that was a little bit more fair, but yeah, this for me is my kryptonite musically speaking. Here's my thing about
Cynic.
power metal, right? I really want to like it. I think power metal is a really good masterclass of dudes who can write really. Let's be honest, it's always dudes who can write really well, play awesomely, amazing arrangement chops, but it just doesn't come together for me. Like I think for me that Rhapsody, but also power metal in general, just has like this thick layer of cheese that I just cannot like scrape off, right? And I really want to like them because there are moments, by the way, like as I kind of re-listened, to kind of refresh my memory for this episode, where I was like, oh, it's starting to click for me actually. And I don't hate power metal, but I do have a complicated relationship with it. Like I do like Sonata Arctica, I like Dragon Force, but and I like power metal influence, but yeah, dude,
Should
singing
know
about
that.
dragons and dwarves and unicorns, I was like, fuck, this is so stupid. I was like, oh my God, this is like really, really stupid. But it's the inverse, though. It's the inverse of like the edgelord, like death metal, for example, or like the Babe Destruction, Nuclear Waste style thrash metal. It's like, do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
if death metal is horror movie fantasy music, then this is literally just like Dungeons and Dragons fantasy music.
Yeah, it literally is. Like all
Yeah.
these bands are based off. Well, a lot of them. Rhapsody being like the biggest key of them. Rhapsody and like Blind Guardian and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is like it's so Tolkien D&D inspired that like yeah, either you're with it or you're just not. There isn't really any. There's nobody there who's just like, yeah, this is all right from time to time.
I might be
You know
that
what I
guy
mean?
though. I actually might be that guy. Like
Are you that guy?
I think so. Like if we were on a road trip and on a playlist, a Rhapsody song just came up on my friend's miscellaneous heavy music playlist, I'd be like, oh, whatever. Like I'm not gonna like tell you that's a bad choice or anything because there are songs actually in discography like throughout each album that I was like, okay, this is really good. But I can
Sure.
tell
There.
you where I get lost in the weeds on
All
this
right, go
one.
for it. All right, so we're starting off with Legendary Tales.
Legendary Tales, the debut
Legendary
album.
Tales kicked it off. I mean, if I remember right, this isn't the start of the Emerald Sword Saga. I think that starts in the second one. But
No, actually,
yeah,
it is the
we're
beginning. It is the beginning. I'm on the Wikipedia
is it?
article
Oh,
right now. It is
fair enough.
allegedly that. But to
Okay.
be fair, I wouldn't know that by memory, just so
Yeah,
no one's
like
confused.
let me guess. Is it Forest of Unicorns that you lose it?
I said fuck this band as soon as that came up. You know what Forest of Unicorns sounds like, dude? Your Forest of Unicorns literally sounds like if you're playing Baldur's Gate 2, this is like the music in the starting village. When you're going around talking to NPCs getting quests at the fucking local tavern.
Forest of Unicorns is
This is
me
literally
playing D&D designed to be a bard.
yeah, but this is also the starting of like your quest where things are still kind of chill.
Oh
You haven't
yeah.
got into the weeds yet. Because Forest of Unicorns, here's the thing, even about like these medieval worship tracks, the instrumentation and like the arrangements are actually fucking awesome. It's just sounds really stupid. Like the best way I can describe it, dude, is like imagine if you made like the most efficient automobile on planet Earth. Like you had like a perfect engine, perfect traction, perfect steering, and like acceleration. But the car was like literally just a giant cheeseburger. You'd be like, wow, that's an amazing piece of engineering, but like that's what you came up with, a fucking cheeseburger car? To
That's
me,
the best you can
Rhapsody is the
manage.
music version of that. So here's the thing
Yeah.
about I actually kind of forgot to look this up, but now that I'm on the Wikipedia article, I'm really happy by the way that like they actually hired like these folk instrument players. Like I'm like they actually do have a Baroque recorder like player. They actually do have like a harpsichord player and a violin player and a cello and a contrabass and stuff. And like I think it's really great they actually went for the effort rather than using like, you know, MIDI, because I know nowadays if I was making a power metal album, why hire a mandolin player when I have a plugin, right?
Yeah.
But of
I
course
guess
this
obviously
album
that is the advantage to now versus being recorded in the 90s.
this is late 90s, like 97, so I mean
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm sure they had MIDI mandolin samples, but I'm sure it wasn't ideal. And quite
Yeah.
frankly, like I imagine because power metal musicians are fucking nerds, they're probably really into the idea of like having authentic instrumentation. They wouldn't want to half-ass it and have MIDI unless it's like, you know, like a
Yeah.
home recording project where like that's more practical.
But I mean, okay. Let's talk about Forest of Unicorns. What is your issue with Forest of Unicorns?
It sounds dumb.
You're going through and it's straight up like a bard just in a fucking village.
Sounds so
Beware of his
stupid.
holy fire.
I hate it. I hate it, dude. It sucks. Like here's the thing. Okay, when I say it sucks, I don't mean it's bad. I mean like what a buzzkill, man. Like when I'm listening to a metal album, I'm sorry, man, get that shit out of here. I'm one of those people, by the way, where it's like I'm not really down with like albums that like stop and go with like really slow acoustic parts unless it's really like a proggy album. But when it comes to power metal, I don't I feel like okay. Here's my thing about this. When I listen to music, right? I think an important part of music is inherently culture, right? The culture you come from, the culture you live within is going to highly influence your sound. That's why like American hardcore bands exist. And that's why you don't really see Egyptian hardcore bands, because like hardcore music is influenced by American street culture, but in the punk iteration of that, right? No one in the year 1996 lives amongst bards and forests and unicorns and shit. That's fucking stupid. Like you have to
I
force
don't
yourself.
think you realize how like popular that stuff is in the UK and in Europe.
I believe it, but I don't believe anyone
Like
in the UK lives a forest of unicorns and bards and stuff like that. Like I understand like
the
that is like
listen here,
English
sir.
folklore.
The national animal of Scotland is a fucking unicorn.
No, it's not. Is it actually?
Yes, it is. Google it if you want.
All right. Give me a sec.
Let's go. National animal of Scotland.
Let's see. Oh my god, it's a fucking unicorn. That
It's
sucks.
it's on the passport.
Why? Have you ever seen a unicorn?
Yes.
Let alone a forest where oh you have. You've seen a forest full of unicorns.
Yeah.
Cool. Where was it? Like
No.
in your backyard? It's yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, man, in the fucking shed out back.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, can we stop talking about Forest of Unicorns? This is gonna engulf the entire podcast. We have to
Okay.
get back on track. So let's talk
yeah.
about the metal parts of this album, shall we?
Yeah, like Flames of Revenge, right after Forest of Unicorns.
Much better track. Okay, here's the thing about this, right? I actually don't mind some of like the metal iterations of this band. Like I think like their riffage is really good. It's really catchy. It's a really dense recordings too, with like, you know, keyboards and like that kind of stuff and the symphonic elements. It's, you know, it sounds really good. I'm not really jazzed honestly about the production of the first one. Like this first album for some reason doesn't hit for me as hard as their other stuff, and I couldn't really put my finger on why. There are tracks I do like on this album, but for the most part, Legendary Tales was kind of a dud for me.
Yeah, I think like this album kind of kicked off a trend that I'm glad they got rid of, which is the last track on every album is always so fucking long.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, it's eight
so on the
minutes.
first
Yeah.
first album, it's close to 8 minutes. It's not that long, I guess. It's fine, but like, God, it gets so much worse.
I don't really mind it, but honestly, dude, by the time I actually got to the last track of Legendary Tales, which oddly enough is the title track, I really just fucking phoned it in at that point. You
That's
know what it
fair.
is about this album? This reminds me a lot of like speed metal era Blind
Yeah,
Guardian, which is
because
actually my least
that's
favorite
especially what it's
era.
based off of.
Yeah, essentially it's the same shit. Like here's the thing, is like I actually do like Blind Guardian quite a bit. I don't really talk about it very often, but that band does work for me for whatever reason. But man, those first couple albums, I know a lot of people really like it. I don't. And I feel like this album has a lot of that kind of vibe. It kind of to me sounds like Castlevania Symphony of the Night music,
Are you saying that's an
but it's
issue?
off. No, 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 no. They see that's more of a compliment in reference to the future albums. But this first one, it doesn't click, and I can't put my finger on why. But the same
Okay.
reason why like old school Blind Guardian doesn't work for me. Like in theory, it's all good. It just, you know, doesn't click. And the riffs are good. Like the production is good enough. The vocals are
Yeah.
there. Like the instrumentation is top notch. And man, straight up, I actually want to learn some of these songs on guitar because their guitar player fucking rips so hard. Dude, he shreds like so hard. I was like really impressed by his performance. Like really showmanship kind of like stuff. It's very flashy, it's very flamboyant, but like it's really cool because, you know, like if you think about how albums were recorded in the 90s, that's really him playing and he just nails this shit. It's fucking awesome. He is such a good guitar player.
So going into Symphony of Enchanted Lands, are you saying that this one is definitely more of a click for you?
It
Because
does.
there's only a year between them.
I don't know what it is. Like, okay, so before we even go too far into it, do people generally enjoy Legendary Tales?
I
Do you
can't
know
say I
what the fan?
know
Okay,
anyone who talks about it. I'll look up.
it's obviously a very competent debut. Like, it kind of goes without saying that this album's not shit. It's just not
So
for my tastes.
reviews average at 79% on Metal Archives.
I mean, that's pretty good. Like,
Symphony of Enchanted Lands also sits at 79 though.
you see, that to me is a little bit strange because I actually like some more of the tracks on here. I thought I kind of
I
liked some of them.
also
Like Emerald
like this
Sword.
one more.
Emerald Sword is like their most popular song on Spotify,
Oh,
but man,
yeah.
it's actually fucking sick.
Like Emerald Sword was one of the first songs I ever heard from Rhapsody, and that was back in high school.
You see, I went in chronological order because I'm only been aware of Rhapsody through like, you know, kind of music forum, you know, deep diving and stuff like that. But like, yeah, dude, I find like something about the catchiness of the songs on this one. It feels like a lot tighter. But my issue with Symphony of Enchanted Lands is the song lengths are a little bit longer. Like you did mention this earlier, man. This last track is like
13 minutes.
13
Like
minutes. That sucks.
why?
I hate it. The album itself is like almost an hour long. And yeah, dude, I kind of snoozed off, you know, here and there. But A couple songs stood out to me, like Emerald Sword, Wisdom of Kings, Eternal Glory, whatever. Much
I mean,
better
I feel like you
songs.
would
Much better
hate Dark
songs.
Tower of Abyss, but I quite like Dark Tower of Abyss.
I don't know what that is. Oh,
It's
sorry,
it's a
that's a
song.
song. I don't remember it. I'd have to like listen to it again. There is a part of me that like doesn't totally remember all of this because I do think all of their albums sound like really similar, quite honestly. And I think part of that too is the production is
Yeah, the
really
production.
similar. It's really rare you kind of get that, isn't it? Like in
Yeah.
albums, like back to back, where everything sounds almost identical. Like there's very few bands that I think kind of do that. Like especially if you think about '90s bands. And a good example of this in my brain is Suffocation, because every single album has a different producer, if I'm not mistaken, and they all sound radically different. So if you're going on a
Yeah.
playlist of Suffocation, you're gonna know pretty quickly when the albums change. But with Rhapsody, I actually just put on a random playlist of just like all of their shit, and I couldn't tell between these first four albums which album they were from. And
I
I
think the
don't know if
biggest part of
that's
that comes from the fact that one, the lineup didn't really change too much in that time, and two, especially with the first two albums, there's a year between them. And on top of that, they're also part of the same concept album or same story,
yeah.
which means you kind of want them to sound the same.
I wonder if it was purposeful or just I would be curious to see if there's like a story behind like how everything actually just came to be. But
I would be
yeah,
willing to argue it's probably purposeful.
I could believe it. I feel like they would be a meticulous kind of band. Like if you're doing like a 4 album like concept story, you're probably pretty organized realistically. So
Yeah.
I'll take that at face value. But yeah, I generally enjoy this album quite a bit more. I think the songwriting is just tighter. The guitar solos are just meaner. Like really,
Yeah.
really sick guitar solos. Like I cannot stress that out
Man,
enough, man. Like this guy
Power
fucking
metal
shreds.
has yeah, power metal has a fucking thing for super insane guitar solos.
You see, the other part about that's so funny to me is like because power metal is such a weird circle in the metal sphere. Like I feel like power
Yeah.
metal is what people think metal sounds like. Do you know what I mean? Who don't listen to metal?
No.
No, okay, maybe I'm just tripping then. But
No, death metal is definitely what people think metal sounds like.
that's a good
You talk
point.
to anybody about being a fan of metal, they instantly think like the growly vocals.
That's a good point. Yeah, fair enough.
And then you turn this on, it's like, oh, this sounds like Dio.
You see, that's actually one thing I want to talk about in a different video. That like I think Dio's influence on music is just awful. I love Dio, but like the whole dragons and wizards thing, kick rocks, dude. I hate it. All that aside, all that aside, to really the guy can shred, man. So fucking
Yeah.
good, dude. Like so good. To me, he's like I know. I think I read an interview or something that he cites Jason Becker and like Malmsteen as like
Yeah.
a huge influence on his playing. I mean, yeah, but honestly, dude, I'll actually take Turilli over both of those guys, and the reason why is because like Malmsteen is the annoying version of Turilli.
I have so many things I could say about Malmsteen,
Name
but I'm
one.
not going to. Name one.
Just name one thing
Um,
you could say about it. I just want to hear. I want to get an idea.
the dude has such a fucking massive ego, and I learned that firsthand.
Mm.
We can talk about that later.
Tell me off stream.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will tell you on stream. I have no issue with that.
Do we want to sidetrack
But
this podcast, or should we just get to the point?
no, we'll save that for later.
Okay.
That reminds me. I have an idea. I'll write it down for a video. But yeah, no, I mean this album's good. Like you said, Emerald Sword is definitely a a big deal for this band. But I think it's definitely the next album where I really start to click with them. Dawn of Victory.
So, just before we get too far, how do you feel about Symphony of Enchanted Lands, like in the overall ranking of these like small handful of albums we're talking about?
I mean, I'll pretty much give it away right now. I think I would pretty much rank these albums in reverse order of how they came out. I
I
think
could
they just get
see
better.
that because it's actually funny you mentioned that. I actually had a similar experience where what I don't want to spoil it too hard, but yeah, I noticed that as the albums went on, I was like, okay, this is tighter, this is working for me. Like something about this is just clicking more. And actually, I'm not gonna lie to you, Aaron. When we get to Dawn of Victory, this is the part where I started to wonder, like, is this band kind of winning me over?
So, like, so Dawn of Victory for one, you can see a lot more of the influence it has on a lot of power metal bands. Village of Dwarves, you can kind of see in
Yeah,
Windrose, Dragor, Shadow Lord of the Black Magic, or what is it?
Black Mountain.
Black Mountain. That's it. My brain stopped to work
It's all
there
good.
because
I literally have a Wikipedia article in front of me right
yeah,
now. That's
yeah,
not memory.
I know. It's such a long name that it cuts off regardless. But
Yeah,
like the song fucking shreds between
yeah.
guitar and keyboard, which obviously is a big thing that bands like
Dragon
um,
Force and
Dragon Force, Sonata Arctica, like power metal era Sonata Arctica, stuff like that,
big time. Yeah,
used a lot. And hey, we get your favorite subject back, the last winged unicorn.
that sucks. I
What I
hate
mean,
the unicorn stuff.
in fairness, you can see. I wouldn't say you can see that trend. I'm now frozen. Just a heads up. You need to tab out of that. Alt tab out of me. You got to open me and then alt tab out of me. There you go. Nope. Alt tab out of me. Are you broken? Thank you.
Can we cut that out of the podcast?
No. Maybe it's up to you. You're the one who's
Please edit
editing
it
it.
out.
If you don't edit it out, then I won't. So.
Fair enough.
But anyways, yeah, like this album specifically, you can start to really see the influence it has on bands that come later.
Yeah. I was gonna say
So
like,
tell me your experience with it.
well, my experience of power metal is honestly like the 2000s onwards because I didn't actually start enjoying Blind Guardian until around like I don't know the 2004ish kind of era. When I kind of discovered Sona Arctica, I was kind of like into the more like 2000s era stuff because like that's just like the era I was in. Like I would just like
Yeah,
type in a band on like YouTube. So when I listen to Rhapsody, I definitely hear the precursor to a lot of the more, I guess you would say, contemporary power metal sound. Is that true? Like, is Rhapsody like a huge influence on more of the contemporary bands?
I would say Rhapsody is Dio may have influenced Rhapsody, but Rhapsody influenced power metal. Is the way I would look at it.
So pre Rhapsody, was power metal more akin to speed metal and kind of like,
Yeah,
okay, I see. So like kind of like
it
that
was
early
kind of
Blind
more.
Guardian.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
kind of more speed metal with the higher vocals.
Okay, so it wasn't quite there yet. So the whole symphonic, like folk instrument kind of thing, that's way more of like a contemporary thing. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
You see, that's interesting for me to know because, like, again, power metal's not really in my jam, so I'm assuming that like
yeah,
Rhapsody is kind of like the Cannibal Corpse
yeah.
of power
That's
metal,
kind of
where
the easiest
everyone
way
kind
to
of
look at
draws
it.
from them. Yeah,
Yeah, like I could be totally wrong. Somebody could easily prove me wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and spout that I'm the best person to talk to about power metal. I love power metal, and from my experience, Rhapsody is definitely where power metal starts is with Rhapsody and this era specifically the Emerald Sword um, story. But yeah,
so I was going to ask you is like, is Rhapsody your favorite power metal band, or is it just kind of like an OG credit kind of thing? Okay, okay,
it was purely OG credit.
yeah.
I like some Rhapsody, but even prepping for this podcast is the most Rhapsody I've listened to.
What about the newer stuff, like
Uh,
Rhapsody of Fire era and Tyrilles and stuff like that? Like,
so Rhapsody of Fire, I don't think I know their last album quite as much.
oh,
I
I
know
see.
the
Yeah,
EP that came before it, and like Trilly can still fucking shred.
yeah, yeah.
It
He's
has
never
one of
stopped
my
shredding.
it has one of my favorite power metal songs on it because of the way it's laid out. It's literally just like high falsetto vocals over top of him just tapping.
Wait, is he the singer of
It's
this band too?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I didn't think so
No.
either. But Trilly sings in
Yeah.
Trilly's Rhapsody.
I don't think so. I don't know who
Okay, sorry
sings.
guys, I'm fucking up this entire podcast. My
Yeah,
God.
you're starting to confuse me. Stop
Yeah,
it.
my bad, my
Anyways,
bad.
okay. Back to Dawn of Victory.
Yes,
What
yes,
won
Dawn
you
of
over with
Victory.
Dawn of Victory?
I think the songwriting is just tighter, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is because this is like where it gets really hard to identify, right? Like we were talking about this where I said something about the songwriting just kind of works for this one. And the reason why it's confusing is because all of the production sounds the same and the band did not go through any stylistic changes. This is literally what you see is what you get kind of deal here. Like if you think about going from, like Dawn of Victory, Enchanted Lands, Dragon Flame, Legendary Tales, it's all the same style of shit. But for whatever reason, sometimes it works better than others. And it's kind of like AC/DC syndrome, right? Where it's like, if you think about AC/DC, all their albums are fundamentally the same concepts, just rehashed like time and time again.
Yeah.
Some iterations just click better than others. And for whatever reason, Dawn of Victory just works, and I can't put my finger on why, but I want to chalk it up just to like tighter songwriting, just tighter anthems and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
Rhapsody does write a mean anthem. I got to give him credit where it's due. Mean
Yeah.
guitar solos, really good vocal hooks for the choruses. Not so much the verses. The verses are just kind of like vocal porn, I like to call it, where it's just like high falsetto with a lot of vibrato, like holding notes, and it's over top of like tremolo pick, like guitar riffs. Like it's whatever. It's a little flamboyant, a little much. Like I said, it's very much like Castlevania anime ass fucking metal music.
I think so. Dawn of Victory, I would argue, uses choirs a lot better than anything so far.
Yeah, I think it's just tighter arrangement, honestly. Like I think
Yeah.
it kind of boils down to like what I'm saying about songwriting chops and like
Yeah.
but kind of goes without saying though, they were always amazing arrangers, man. Like every single album where they have like the folk instrumentation or sorry, every single song where they have the folk instrumentation and stuff like that. Just fucking top notch, man. Just really top notch stuff. It doesn't get much better. They
So
really
I
know how to like,
figured, yeah, you said I figured this would be kind of a make or break for you based on not being a big fan of the power metal or the speed metal influence and being more into the actual power metal side of Rhapsody.
yeah.
Reign of a Thousand Flames.
What about it?
How do you feel?
You know what? I don't know if it's my favorite, but I do like it. Probably on par with like Power of the Dragon Flame. I think for me, like these two albums, I kind of go back and forth between, honestly. Like to me, we're at a certain point where they kind of sound pretty similar. I don't know if like Reign of a Thousand Flames sticks out to me as much as Dragon Flame, however. I don't
Reign of
know
a
why.
Thousand Flames really leaned into that like D&D style, super power metal, like narrator, story concept, whatever power metal. That's I would argue that's what it did. Reign of a Thousand Flames, the first song, the title track, has is not only speedy as shit and like
Yeah.
fully shreds throughout the album, but you straight up have a spoken word narrator during the song to drive the story. And me being a massive fucking nerd, I think that's great. The one downside is what I brought up earlier. There's a 13-minute and a 10-minute song on this album.
Yeah, it's really long in spite of being like their shortest track listing. There's only like 7
Yeah,
tracks on here, but like it goes on, and honestly, like I kind of tune out for a bit of it. And if I can be more frank, I'm actually not really down with the whole spoken word narration thing over top of music. I find it's a little bit like it's basically like like in a really bad Star Wars movie when the text is crawling in the intro, and it's just like. And for some reason, Palpatine comes back, and you're like, "Oh, okay." Like, I see the narrative point of what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get like some exposition just kind of out of the way, so we're all like up to speed for the audience. But I don't know. Not
Yeah,
my
I think it
favorite
works with the.
narrative. Not my favorite narrative trick, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I think it works in this context
Yeah, it
because
doesn't sound jarring,
I'm
but
I'm kind of thinking of it as like a D&D campaign where you do have a dungeon master. You do have
sure.
somebody who's there to be like, here's what's happening in the story. Here's what happened last time. But yeah, no, I mean, I kind of agree. The fucking crawl in Star Wars. I don't want to trigger anyone. I've seen a Star Wars movie and it's not one that you want me to see.
Please tell me it's
But
Phantom Menace.
no.
Okay,
I
good.
won't even tell you it's one of the first two trilogies.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, anyways, Power of the Dragon Flame. Yeah, I mean, this was the one you said you liked. Tell me about it. Tell me your thoughts.
I think it's like the tightest album, honestly, and like this is again like a really weird band for me to talk about because it just kind of blends together in this really big like production stew. Every single album sounds quite honestly identical, but again, this one just kind of clicks for me where I was like, yeah, man. Like the title track I thought was like really sweet. When the demons awake and stuff like that, Agony is my name. I'm like, yeah, man, this is really fucking cool. Like it has like that power metal style riffage that I've always really liked. Like the thing about power metal riffage, honestly, is I always thought like the riffs were really good. The drumming is always like super bombastic and it's all like
Yeah.
really spazzy double bass kind of stuff, and I'm like really into that sound. For me, the part that loses me is honestly the lyrical themes. Like, but I don't really know if the lyrical themes were different that it would matter for me. Like, I don't know if it's really just like the style of vocal performance. It's like Celine Dion. Like,
I was gonna
man,
say, like,
she can
is it?
sing, but I don't listen to Celine Dion. Like, she's a good vocalist, obviously, but I kind of consider
That's what
power
you're gonna
metal.
ask.
What?
Oh, I was gonna say that's what I was gonna ask. Is like, is it the lyrical theme or is it the actual vocalist?
I can't tell because, like, honestly, if they were growling this stuff, would I even care? Probably not. Like, I don't know what's
I don't know.
Necrogoblicon sing about
Goblins.
goblins, but did I care because I can understand what they're saying half the time? No, but like on a sonic level, I had some problems with some of the
I
earlier stuff, right?
I can say like, okay, take later Necrogoblicon where they like properly leaned into goblins, into
Yeah,
concepts around goblins. Did that take you out of it the same way that this is?
I think they're on par, and the reason why I say that's because this is the part where Rhapsody clicks for me. In the same way where that's where Necrogoblicon started to click for me. Like when we got to like this is bonkers, I was like, okay, this is good for me, right? Like this works really
This
well.
is bonkers.
To me, Power of the Dragon Flame is essentially this is bonkers, just from a different band, where it's like all of the power metal cheesiness is here, and it's like channeled pretty intensely. Maybe it's because the OG cred, I don't really know. Maybe it's the songwriting. It's like they've been a band just long enough for it to work. But yeah, I don't know. Something about like Dragon Flame is particularly good. I would say as far as power metal goes, this might be on my essential listens if I ever had to make like a list or a chart or whatever. However, the whole like saga of the whatever the fuck, I don't give a shit. I don't know what the story is about. I don't really care. All I know is that it's some like Tolkien inspired Dungeons and Dragons nonsense. Like who cares? I'm a sci-fi guy. Like for me, fantasy is like really hokey and stupid. I couldn't care
We should
less.
make an episode where I take you through the story and see how quickly you fall asleep.
Oh, dude, that would be such a bad video. It would just be
Or would
me
be a
like
good
just
video.
nodding off, being like, "Oh wow, cool, dude." And I would
So
have to
all in
like,
all,
I
not a
would,
big fan
yeah,
of all this.
not really. No, no, I would
If
not.
we're gonna do power metal, maybe we should do like Sonata next.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay,
I'd be
I'll
into
keep that in
Sonata
mind. 'Cause,
Article.
I'm a big Sonata fan.
It's not as good. It's not as good. But yeah, what do you think of Dragon Flame as far as the stacking up to the rest of it?
Like I said, I just think this band gets better as they go. As a whole, I think they just get better after they become Rhapsody of Fire and they split and Trilly takes over his thing and yada yada. The thing, my issue with Rhapsody, and the reason that I really lost interest in Rhapsody as a whole, is after this album, Rhapsody becomes like six different fucking bands. And I don't care to keep up with all of them because they're all releasing albums at the same time.
Yeah, that's really confusing from all parties involved because, like, when I was looking up the Wikipedia article and I saw that they branched off into Rhapsody of Fire and then Tyrilli's, I was like, okay, something is weird in these waters. So maybe you can kind of fill me in, at least vaguely. What's the deal with them splitting up and having two different Rhapsodies? Obviously, it had to have been somewhat amicable if they're, like, allowed to do that, right?
Well, that's the thing is it wasn't amicable, and that's why they have different names. That's why nobody continued as Rhapsody. Yeah,
Okay.
if it was amicable, if everyone agreed, somebody would have taken the name Rhapsody and just continued as it was. Rhapsody of Fire continued with I want to say this thing like Rhapsody of Fire has none of the original members. Is the way to look at it.
Wait. So, Tyrilli's Rhapsody, if you will, is the proper continuation of Rhapsody OG.
I wouldn't know if that's the way to say it because so Rhapsody of Fire is the longest running of them.
Yeah.
Rhapsody of Fire continued on directly from this. I can't remember exactly if it's any original members. I think is it only Staropoli who's still there? The keyboard player?
Ooh, in Rhapsody of Fire? That's actually a really good question. I couldn't
Yeah,
tell
I think
you.
it's only the keyboard player who's still there.
Uh-oh. You might be correct. Ooh. Yeah, Alex. Yeah, he's still in there. He's still in there, man.
Yeah, so
Okay, so
like think about that. The keyboard player
yeah.
is the only original member still left.
Of Rhapsody of Fire.
Yeah, in Rhapsody of Fire.
Yeah, and
But
then
Rhapsody of Fire
yeah.
continued on from Rhapsody and continued the Emerald Sword saga, which obviously, if you're into the whole lyrical content, actually means something.
So this is even more fucked up, right? Because you have Rhapsody of Fire, which is like, whatever, I guess. Now you have Tyrilli's Rhapsody, and you only have two albums, and these guys formed actually like 2011. I didn't realize they formed
Can I
so
point
much
something else
later.
to you?
Say it again, sorry.
Can I point something out to you?
Yeah,
You have Luca Turilli's Rhapsody,
yeah.
right? You also have Luca Turilli's Dream Quest. Luca Turilli did continue in Rhapsody of Fire for a little bit.
What?
You also have Turilli and Leone's Rhapsody.
Wait. Slow down. Wait, there's a third Rhapsody? What the? Wait, oh my god, this is. Oh, I didn't even know about this. So sorry, guys. This is me just only caring
Remember
about.
when I said there was like six Rhapsodies? That wasn't a joke.
Wait. So Rhapsody of Fire is a direct continuation of Rhapsody because
Correct.
someone fucked off?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rhapsody of Fire exists. Tyrilli then
Yeah.
says, fuck you guys. I'm going to start my own band of like hookers and blackjack.
Rhapsody of Fire continues, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
they bring in Fabio Leone, and he's now the singer.
Right.
Okay. So Fabio Leone, he comes in. They're like, cool, we're not allowed to use Rhapsody anymore. So Rhapsody of Fire it is. At some point, I think in 2011, if I remember right, Luca Turilli's like, cool, fuck this, I'm out. I don't want to be in this band anymore. And he goes on. He makes his own Rhapsody.
Right.
He
Tyrilli's
makes
Rhapsody.
Luca Turilli's Rhapsody,
Yeah.
right? And they release what, two albums?
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point later down the line, 2016, 2015, somewhere in there, Fabio Leone then leaves Rhapsody of Fire. And Luca Turilli's like, hey man, you want to make our own Rhapsody with hookers and blow?
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck yeah, what do we call it? And Lucas Riley's like Trilly and Leone's Rhapsody.
You know what's really annoying about trying to research this stuff too, besides the fact that like it's a confusing clusterfuck?
That's why I said let's just do Rhapsody.
Rhapsody of Fire, according to the Wikipedia article, has the original albums
Yep.
just thrown in there as part of the original stuff. So what I
Yep.
get confused about is, okay, so who left and took the Rhapsody name to for that? Sorry, who took the Rhapsody name and therefore Rhapsody of Fire had to exist? Because I'm not seeing the personnel difference. All I'm seeing is that like Fabio and Luca Torilla, Alex is all there. They're all fucking there, but for some reason they had to change their name to Rhapsody of Fire. I'm not really getting
Giacomo
that.
Volli. Or not Giacomo Volli, sorry. The singer. What the fuck's the name of the original singer?
It's not Fabio? Oh,
I
crap.
don't believe so.
Uh-oh.
Am I going crazy?
Someone's going crazy here. No, Fabio was on the original albums.
I don't fucking know. I don't know why I changed anymore. I'm gonna stop talking and acting like I know this because I could have sworn I did, but I don't.
Someone knows. Someone obviously knows why that happened. But yeah,
I
Fabio is
agree.
our OG guy. Okay, so yeah, I'm not really quite sure the lore of this band anymore because Rhapsody of Fire exists. And at one point, half the band was like, "Oh, well, fuck you, Torilli's," and oh, god damn it,
Hey, Christopher Lee helped Rhapsody of Fire at some point.
that's weird. What did Christopher Lee do? Did he do vocals?
Yeah, man, he did like a voiceover thing, and he did co-vocals
Oh, yeah.
on some of their B-sides.
I guess he was
Yeah,
done playing Count Dooku in Star Wars, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck it."
dude, he has like three fucking metal albums.
Yeah, I know.
Are you not aware of this?
No, I am aware of this. I'm just saying it's like
Okay.
the timeline of him working with Rhapsody coincides with like Count Dooku dying in Star Wars.
Anyways, take us out. I'm done talking about Rhapsody.
Yeah, I don't know. Rhapsody or a band, they exist. Fine, fuck it. I don't care.
Cool.
Rhapsody's pretty good.
Follow,
I
follow us on socials.
yeah,
Like
follow
and
us on Instagram
subscribe to our fucking Twitter and YouTube.
and our
Follow our
Facebook.
YouTube.
And
We have a lot of content on YouTube now, and more coming.
more coming. Just more coming.
Cool. Bye,
Rhapsody
Marcus.
is a band. Toodaloo. Stay safe.